you. Thank you so much. Slides are up. Good afternoon. I hope it's a session after the lunch. Hope everybody having a fun 2 days in the ONUG Fall 2022. It's an honor to be here sharing what S&P Global does in a large network ecosystem and how we partner with forward networks in accelerating our network transformation journey and doing some of the great and cool things. We have a unique topic today because I'm sure many of you know S&P Global in many different ways, but we'll talk about how working in a company which is data driven and we sell data, we buy data, but taking those core companies' values and business principles and applying it in IT is what we have done within S&P Global, within the network team. And we have adopted some of the core business values and partnered with Forward and applied those intelligence into our core ecosystem so that we can also leverage our own network intelligence, our own network information to help the developer community. Because as network engineers, we all have lived the world of what is the IP address, what is the device, where is the data center, where is the network, right? We have all heard these questions probably a million times, but think about making that information white labeled, unlocking those key information and commoditizing it and putting it in the ecosystem where your users can access freely and make use of it, makes their life even more simpler. Moving on. Let's talk about S&P Global before we go into some of the use cases that we have accomplished. We are a largest provider of ratings, indices, benchmark, analytics, and data to capital and commodity markets in simple, right? But to do that, we operate in 100 offices, 51 data centers, 4 multi-cloud providers, and 37,000 employees work round the clock to deliver that essential intelligence to over 100 countries. Because if you look at our economy, the countries, the governments, and the markets, we have to be in the forefront to provide that intelligence to thousands of our customers non-stop. The intelligence that we provide from S&P Global enables every customer to make the key decision. So we cannot say, hey, our intelligence are not available. We have to provide our intelligence 24/7, round the clock to various time zones to thousands of customers across the globe. And the infrastructure which is supporting this larger ecosystem have to be very reliable, available, and also ready to supply data, because we supply data in different forms through private network, through public network, through SaaS, through streaming, through internet, right? So by this time you can assume the scale at which that we operate this large ecosystem, and network team is probably running the engine room of the entire ecosystem. I'm sure many of you know what I mean by engine room is if you have traveled in a big vessel for a holiday vacation, how many of you have really gone into the engine room and figured out what's going in, what's sailing the ship, right? You all experienced the great experience being in the sail and experiencing the water, but who runs the engine room? How difficult it is to run the engine room. I'm sure when you cross the hallway of the ship, you'll find plans, you'll find details, but nobody cares what the pump looks like. Nobody cares what the elbows looks like, right? So being responsible for running the engine room is the biggest responsibility as network engineers that we have, and taking that accountability and bringing in the bells and whistles to run that ecosystem is what we do constantly within S&P Global. Let's talk about the use cases. This is the most important slide in today's session. The reason I brought this slide is to relate to our real life. We all go to, before I go into what discovery search engine is all about, we all go to Google every day, right? We want to find what's the nearest restaurant after the session. We want to find where can I go find my train, where can I go find the bus, right? But how many of you have really gone and figured out what is Google's mission statement is? Nobody cares. We all Google is so much integrated in our life. It touches all of our lives, providing that essential intelligence. Look at the keywords: information, universally accessible, and useful. It's so simple yet powerful mission statement. And what we did within the network team of S&P Global is we just adopted such a simple yet powerful statement. We took our essential intelligence, we organized them and put the key information, made it available, made it useful to drive agility with our developer ecosystem. Simple. We named the tool as Discovery. We ingest data from several sources. Forward networks plays a very critical role in the data ingestion process. Think about what a developer wants when they are building a 3-tier application. They need to know where the systems are. They need to know what the IPs are. They need to know what the port numbers are, what's getting built, what's getting blocked. So we have started producing this level of basic information in a simple search functionality so that they can go feed this information, hit the find button. They're going to get a result of a beautiful mind map, which is real-time, interactable, and they can take that data, come to the project team and say, hey, network team, I'm thinking about building an application in AWS East 1, or I'm thinking about building an application in my Ashburn data center, wherever you want. Build this information, understand how the network looks like, understand the complexity. It enables the developers to decide where they should run their application, how they should deploy the application, where the database has to be, where the app has to be, where the middleware has to be. The intelligence that we are producing out of the tool within S&P Global using our own search engine is enabling developers every day. And the data that we are ingesting is DNS, DHCP, IPAM, load balancer data. All the data that is coming out of the forward networks modeling information is all ingested in much more real time. And during this process, we are not teaching developers how to do networking. We are telling developers how to grab upfront information so that they can come to us and get involved. Rather than starting from a white paper, they already have a paper filled in with thousands of variables, telling them what the risks, what the challenges, what decisions they need to make, so that we are empowering them to do the right thing. This goes back to the S&P Global's, again, foundational principles. We supply essential intelligence for our customers to make meaningful decisions. It's the same core values that we applied within the network team of S&P Global, supplying the developers with the information so that they can make meaningful decisions, so that they don't need to wait for IT to tell them what's the right decision, where to do what. So this has been in action. We have been actively building out the tool. We have been actively developing the product. And we are so excited about the result and the outcome and the partnership that we have with Forward in expanding this capability even much more real time, feeding with all the data sets that we have. Today we are all living in an ecosystem where so many tools, so many technologies. I mean, this 2 days showcase is a critical, classic example of how many technologies that we are operating, and within S&P we operate those many technologies to deliver the value. But the key is ingesting the data and delivering the data in a much more useful way is what the discovery search engine that we have built within the network team and enabling the developer ecosystem is what we are practicing. And the tool is just growing. The work is not finished. It's just growing every day as the team is discovering more and more information. And the good part is, because of the output that it is producing, which is real time, which is interactive, our developers are so excited about, can you provide more information? Can you provide SSL information? Can you provide my load balance information? Can you put my server there and show it to me? So the use cases is just growing because the way that we are producing information in a much more interactive and even more real-time way. Let's talk about developer productivity. How many times in all our life somebody has called us in various times and said, can you get me a basic network information? If you are in an operations job, every minute somebody is calling you, asking for an IP, asking for a device, asking for an uptime statistics, right? Sometimes every hour, sometimes once a week or once a day. Any guesses? How many times do you get called by your customer asking for simple network information that we all have kept like this so far, but how by commoditizing it, you can reduce this many number of calls being attended by your team, supplying the same information again and again and again and again. This is an important aspect I want all of you to think when you think about making a decision on finding a network modeling tool, finding a network assurance tool, finding the capability to build on, right? Go back and ask your teams, how many times do you get called? Measure those calls. Find out what's going on. Why are they constantly supplying information? How can you make decisions to commoditizing this information? In the beginning of the conversation, I spoke about engine room. I think running the engine room is critical. That's what is keeping the vessel moving on. The engine rooms of the past is data centers, big buildings, four-sided wall, no windows, nobody can see anything from outside, right? The only people who can go into the building is highly trained network engineers. But what's outside the building? A beautiful plan on an A3 paper where anybody can walk in, see the paper, but nobody knows what's inside. Very well protected, controlled by a central IT, and nobody wants to commoditize any information. If you want any network information, open a ticket, call us, we'll help you, right? That's the engine rooms of the past. Let's talk about engine rooms of the current and the future. We're all living in the world of federated IT. Business wants to control IT from front to center to corner, and the role of the central IT is moving from being in a position where we control and manage and maintain everything to become even more an influential role to enable our business to make right decisions. We don't want them to build the wrong things and then resulting in fixing multiple things at the same time. So the hybrid cloud ecosystem where we have multi-cloud, AWS, Azure, Google, Alibaba, and on-prems are still there. The spaces are becoming even more invisible. We host in Equinix, we host in AWS, we host in different places. The big walls have gone. You cannot see the walls anymore. The services are still being abstracted. Developers think, I can put my credit card and I can spin up my EC2, but my two VPCs gets connected. How? Money is paying, but there is some network engineer sitting in that invisible space, constantly doing that automation to connect those VPCs. But the fully abstracted services, as it becomes invisible, but the role of the network engineer becomes even more critical there. So here comes defining the developer experience. In the past, when the developer asks for information, we have always said, here is a Visio diagram. We'll put it to you. But what version is this? This is 2 months old version. But didn't you remove a router last month? Didn't you add a firewall last week? Did you not add a static route during an incident? So the information that we all have maintained in the form of Visio diagrams, in the form of paper, have 99% of the time been obsolete because of the fact that it's hard to maintain. It's hard to constantly keep up with that pace. With tools like forward networks and the engine rooms are becoming so invisible, the services has become even more abstracted. One needs a real-time visibility, real-time snapshot, real-time assurance of what's going on within the company. Who added a static route? Who added a default route? Who added a firewall policy? How the applications are getting impacted. So having that real-time modeling information through snapshots and applying it in the tool and producing an output, and even more in a predictable manner, is the key to the developer productivity, because developers in S&P Global are constantly building products that is enabling our end customers. We wanted to make sure that the infrastructure that we provide for the developers, they can predict and they can keep moving on. Let's go to the next slide. Let's talk about integration a little bit here. I'm switching topics from developer productivity to integration. I'm sure many of you might have known very recently S&P and IHS market merged. It's the biggest merger and it came together. And that's why in the initial slide you saw number of our data centers have grown, number of our offices have grown, and everything has grown by probably several number of times. Think about mergers and acquisitions of the past. It has always taken years to accomplish. Today, S&P Global has completed 6 months mark in our merger with IHS Markit. I can proudly say the network has been integrated very well because of the work that the team has done, because of the partnership that the network modeling capabilities and the tools have brought in, and the work that we have done with the forward enabled us. We never traveled because of COVID. All of us were buckled up to our own seats. The team just leveraged the tool, applied the modeling capability, use the visibility and visualization to basically determine this is S&P network, this is IHS market network. How do we integrate them? What are the key points? What are the key risks? What are the key compliance? What are the key security factors that we need to take in so that the mergers and acquisitions are becoming simpler, faster, even smoother through the visibility that we are able to get, and we are able to deliver much faster business value. Our developers today are able to pick a product on their side and bring the data to another product on this side, and we can go to the customer and say, until last month, you were able to get a data A, but with the partnership and the underlying network that we have built, they're able to bring in another data set and produce even more faster business value. So the M&As are getting even easier. So if you are dealing with mergers and acquisitions, the best possible start is bring a modeling tool, bring a visualization tool, paint the picture, move away from a Visio days of diagrams to getting a real-time snapshots of what's going in. Moving into our journey, accelerating cloud migrations. You saw the metrics in the beginning, 50 data centers, and S&P Global has always been the cloud-first journey company, and pre-merger we have migrated several hundred applications into the cloud, and IHS market has also in the same journey, and post-merger we are even further accelerating the entire journey. Let's talk about 3 simple basic phases what happens in a cloud journey. One, want to discover everything what wants to go into the cloud. You want to analyze, but you also want to migrate. With the partnership that we have done and the work that we have done with Forward, everything that goes into the cloud starts with a network, and we are always at the forefront of helping and laying the highway between the on-prem and to the cloud. And by doing that, we were able to reduce the cycle times in the discovery phase. We no more bring in consultants to basically say, hey, can you study all of this and tell me in 6 months what I need to migrate? We have moved away from that model and that operating model. My team, my own team can tell me, here is the analysis, here is the output that the tool is producing, and it's a meaningful output, and we are able to develop prediction on what is being discovered and how to analyze that. Because the mindset is when you move an application from on-prem to the cloud, historically, expectation is, okay, network team will copy paste every configuration in the on-prem into the cloud. That's not practical. You cannot copy a firewall rule into VPC. You cannot copy a static route into VNets. That's not practically possible. So the discovery phase is extremely critical, and the analysis phase is extremely critical, because that's what is going to help us deliver efficiency during the migration. So capturing the data, translating the data, predicting the output after the migration will all result in a very good outcome of you can eliminate errors upfront, you know the risk ahead of time, people are not making assumptions. Network engineer says my firewall rule is A to B to C, the cloud engineer is saying mine is E to F to G, right? We want to make sure these assumptions are eliminated at the beginning so that the business can reduce unexpected outages. We are on a massive cloud migration journey for over the next 2 to 3 years, and the partnership and the tool, the capability that we have built is helping our developer ecosystem, and it continues to be that the data set helping our teams in all the discovery, analysis, and modeling phase so that we can fast track our cloud migration journey. The partnership has been great so far. We continue to build on the capability. Our end state is have that Google-like experience within S&P Global so that developers, the business, the analysts, the product owners can have an ability to go search for meaningful information, to apply it in a meaningful ways and advance their capabilities. With that, I come to the end of the keynote. Appreciate the time and the opportunity. Thank you so much, everybody, for listening, and I hope continue to connect and collaborate for the rest of the day. Thank you so much.